Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We certainly appreciate your attendance. Today is Tuesday, July 21st, and we'll start the meeting by introducing you to your City Council.
Council members Karski.
Here.
Kiley.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Staggers.
Present.
Anderson.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Yes, here.
Jameson.
Here.
Councilors, thank you. Appreciate that. We will start our meeting, of course, with an invocation. We're very, very blessed to have Senior Pastor Brett Best of the Emmanuel Baptist Church here in Sioux Falls. He will lead us in that invocation. What we'd ask you to do is to stand and then remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Senior Pastor Best, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I invite you to join me in a moment of quiet and prayer. Our Creator and Father, you have delegated some of your limitless authority and power to us as your children, and we use this authority to make choices, and we use this power to build upon them. I ask your help in making wise choices that uplift our community. It is our shared task to create equality of opportunity, guard our most vulnerable members, and ensure a good and orderly life for all. I believe you have blessed us with abundance and a unique position to do something historic, not just for our immediate community, but also for our state and nation. We can make a difference. With your aid, may civility and success mark this place. I offer this under the name of Jesus. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, Council, we'll now move on to our consent agenda. Any motions, changes to
For
this?
approval, Anderson.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve our consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Karski. If there's no items to discuss, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski.
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Council, now our regular agenda. Any changes to that?
Move for approval, Anderson. Second, Karski.
Thank you both for that. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski.
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson. Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
That is also passed 8-0. Thank you. We'll now move on with our meeting. Folks, this is a great opportunity for you to engage the council on any topic that you think is important within our city. If it is an item that is later on in the agenda, we'd ask you to wait until that time. Otherwise, just come forward, state your name to the people of our town, and if you could leave your comments to 5 minutes or less, we'd appreciate that. Welcome.
Hi, Greg Neitzert. I want to address the council meeting about the working session on the pools last week and a few other things. First, I was amazed that 4 of you voted to approve the resolution regarding the proposed administrative office building. I have no opinion on the merits of the actual project. It might be wonderful. My concern is that the project officially does not exist until the body that appropriates and sets policy says it does, and that's you. And you approved a construction method for something you haven't even approved yet. It was totally inappropriate for the city to bring this forward before you approved the CIP. All of you should have been offended, and this should have been an easy 8-0 vote just on principle. Second, regarding the reconsideration of the renaming of Powder House Road, there are good arguments on both sides. That isn't my concern. A number of citizens, many veterans, sat here for about 2 hours, patiently waiting to have their opportunity to speak. When the time came, 6 of you voted to deny them that opportunity. You could have voted for the reconsideration and then simply voted to approve the renaming. Had you done that, the public, including the veterans, would have been given their chance to have their say. The result would have been exactly the same, and you wouldn't have shown contempt for your constituents and your veterans. 6 of you owe them an apology. Finally, in regard to the working session on the pools, it was really informative and helpful, and I'm glad I attended. I want to give you some thoughts now that I've had a chance to digest it. Regarding the outdoor pool rates, what I heard was a clear consensus that you aren't bothered that we don't charge as much as other communities, and in fact, you're proud of that fact, and so am I. So we're not going to raise rates based on that rationale. There is also a clear consensus that we don't want to eliminate free and reduced passes. Every citizen I've talked to happens to agree with that. I also didn't hear any clear rationale for why we should need to raise rates besides the fact that we haven't done it in a while. I'm not automatically against raising certain rates, but what I didn't hear, however, was a clearly defined goal. What are we trying to achieve and why? You need to answer that question before you can decide on the rates. Otherwise, we're just throwing darts at the wall. What's our goal? Apparently, other communities shoot for recovering 50% of their cost through fees, but why did they choose that percentage? I don't know the reason. And we've already established that we're not that concerned with keeping up with other communities, so does that really matter? Perhaps we should be defining a maximum figure that we're willing to subsidize the outdoor pools, for example, 1 million, and back into our rates that way. The point is, I think you need to clearly define what the goal is before you can set the rates. Once you define the goal and you define the non-negotiable parameters, for example, free passes stay in place, the rest of the rate structure will fall into place. In regards to the indoor pool, when citizens asked me about the indoor pool before the election, I told them you can vote for the indoor pool, but you need to realize and accept that if you vote for it, you are affirmatively voting to delay for several years or permanently the replacement of existing pools that are already over capacity and at their useful life, like Keene Park near me. And you're voting to delay indefinitely the adding of new pools. The example I gave was the cost of the indoor pool. We could construct 3 outdoor aquatic centers like Drake Springs. That's opportunity cost. And you are affirmatively voting to bulldoze a neighborhood pool for a group of children and replace it with an expensive indoor pool that many will not be able or afford to use. During the when I was running for proposing Shape Places and advocating for it, I went to some of those meetings, and Don Kearney and other officials said all of our projections are based on our current fee structure. All of this is on video and on YouTube. The voters were clearly led to believe that the indoor pool and outdoor pool rates would be the same and that one pass would get you into both. The indoor pool being affordable was a major concern for the voters, and they were assured it would be. And by the way, I assume city employees believed at the time what they said. They did not lie, and I believe they are honorable. The point is that the indoor pool was sold on the premise it would be a community pool and it would be for everyone. I sat at that working session quite disappointed that many of you don't seem to think that betraying that promise is a big deal. One counselor thinks it's a big deal, and she was very vocal about it. That was Counselor Erpenbach, and she deserves to be recognized and thanked for that. She had a great idea. Why not bring certain pool rates up, like the outdoor rates, so we can bring the indoor rates down and bring it to parity? By the way, if this was a private pool, I could care less what the rates that were charged, but this is a public pool. And we also have to realize what we are affirming if we raise the rates, which is what city employees say doesn't seem to mean anything, and that we're building essentially a pool that's for the haves, and the have-nots are out of luck. I'm once again going to urge you to use some sort of model, like the season model that was promised, so that the kids in that neighborhood and everybody can access a pool. And if you can't get yourself to do that, then at least build the outdoor spray park. No fence, no charge, so the kids in that neighborhood have something. Otherwise, we're going to hope that we have the free bus passes because they're going to have to get on a bus and ride across town just to go swimming because we've bulldozed their pool. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Greg. Appreciate that. Folks, anybody else? Welcome.
Scott Harrisman, Sioux Falls. You guys have said that it works on your computers here at Carnegie, and you know, that's a different firewall and stuff, and that's probably why it works on your computers. So I don't know if it's getting not getting streamed out to the public, and maybe that's the issue, but I don't know what's going on there. I also want to talk about TIFs. We were told about another TIF that we're going to have. A few years ago, a former city employee told me that we were having a very big precedent by offering a TIF to Sanford. And at the time when they told me that, I couldn't really wrap my head around it all, but now I'm starting to think about it, and they were right. We're starting to give TIFs out for everything imaginable instead of what a TIF really should be for, something that is not going to be ever possibly done by anybody in the world unless that TIF is given. I look at it this way. We had record building permits last year. We're going to have probably another record building this year. I see apartment buildings being built like mad all over town, and because there is demand. So why would we give a tax rebate to another developer to build apartment buildings? We don't need to. Why would we give a rebate to someone to build apartment buildings when people are building apartment buildings all over town, figuring out how to make money on them and charge rent? At the neighborhood summit, Jim Deers was here. He was a very famous community organizer, neighborhood organizer. I had the opportunity to ask him about TIFs, and my question was, maybe we should take TIFs instead of giving them to large developers to build these big projects. Maybe we should give them to citizens and give citizens tax rebates to do repairs to their older homes and stuff. And he looked me straight in the eye and he says, I am against TIFs, period. He doesn't believe in them because they take away funding from schools, they take away funding from the county, they take away funding from the city. Important funding. We just flagpole annexed McGovern School, and we didn't even put sidewalks in so the kids could go to the school, but we're going to give a tax rebate to build another apartment building in town. That's all it is. It's just another apartment building. It ain't any different than any apartment building being built this summer. So I say, with record growth, the developers are doing just fine on their own. They don't need any tax rebates. And I think that we need to take a serious look at how we're handing these out. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Hi, I'm Tally Kinsley. I'm co-owner of Yellow Cab, and I'm here tonight because I'm concerned about the articles I've been reading about the City Council wanting to revisit the city ordinances on the taxi for Uber Cab. Back in 2013-14, we spent an entire year revisiting the city ordinances. You'll all remember, most of you, and one of our it's the same discussion. I mean, it's basically the same discussion. And I've been trying to research this, and Uber has a reputation for coming into cities, starting up their operations, and then asking for permission later, and then wreaking havoc, and all the cab companies are trying to sue, and there's lawsuits from the cities, and it's the same discussion that we brought to the City Council a year and a half ago about independent contractors versus employees. And when we first addressed the council, our intent was to bring that to your attention, that some of these companies that you were issuing a license to weren't paying the same taxes and the same insurance and everything that we were, because ours are considered employees, and they were saying theirs were independent contractors. So we provided some documentation to the council from the Department of Labor explaining what independent contractor is. And it's the exact same argument now with Uber Cab. If Uber Cab is able to come into the city and operate their cab hailing business under the way that they do it now, they're bypassing all of the taxes and the insurance and everything on all the drivers. And basically that would probably come in and just wipe us traditional cab companies out. It's a lot of money that we spend on the taxes and the work comp insurance and that kind of thing. They're pending lawsuits across the country on this exact topic. California, there was a big lawsuit, and the Labor Commission in California declared that they were employees and that they do have to pay into Social Security, unemployment insurance, and there's lawsuits in Texas, there's lawsuits in Alabama, there's lawsuits all over the place. They've been banned in Europe, all for the same reason, that the traditional cab companies who spend a lot of money and go through a lot of work to do what we do cannot compete with that. It's just unfair competition is what the problem is. When we discussed all this a year and a half ago, some of the things that we asked were that the application process be changed so that pertinent information would be provided proving what type of company they want to be or they plan to operate, whether they're going to whether their drivers are going to be independent or whether they're going to be their employees. And then on the same thing with the cab drivers and their applications, and then cross-reference that to make sure that the cab drivers are either independent or employees. I don't know if there's anything in place. The applications were changed, and which was great, and they had that put in there, but I don't know that there's any protocol for cross-referencing that and making them prove that they're what type of a company they are. Most of the discussion at that time concentrated on public safety rather than unfair competition. And some of the things it included was adding annual car inspections, removing the fuel surcharge, and that's for public safety and for the public, but it doesn't do anything about the unfair competition issues. Many of the issues, I think, that were swept aside. I asked if we could vote on each piece of the ordinance separately, but it wasn't done that way. It was voted on as a whole, and I think there was a lot of issues that weren't resolved. And if the city council is willing to revisit the ordinance for Uber, then there's a lot of things I'd like to revisit as well. I don't think that any of us could compete with the way Uber operates their business today. They don't pay any work comp on their employee, they don't consider them employees. And in one of the articles, I'd written you guys a letter, sent you a letter, and one of the articles in there that I was referring to, it said that the Uber cabs the cab drivers were independent contractors. And I challenged that again and would like to ask you, what makes them independent contractors? If the drivers are not licensed with the state to independently operate a business, then they are employees of the company owners, in which case the company owners have to carry work comp on them. They have to pay into Social Security and unemployment insurance, which would then be fair competition. And if Uber can come in and bypass all that expense and all that cost, there's no way we can compete with that. We just can't do it. This could just wipe out the traditional cab companies. Now, I'm not saying that Uber should be banned necessarily, but they should have to abide by the same ordinance that we do, because they're directly tapping into our livelihood and our business. And I've got about 28 years invested in this, and I feel like it's just going to be pulled right out from under my feet, And the reason that Uber is doing so well and making so much money, they've got sponsors and that kind of thing, and I've researched, I don't exactly know how it works, how they make their money exactly, but they're claiming their drivers to be independent contractors, yet none of them are licensed to operate a business in the state. So what makes them independent contractors is my question. And so it's the ongoing argument, and I feel like we're starting over with the argument that we had, I shouldn't say argument, discussion that we had a year and a half ago. And I feel like if this is going to be revisited, then there's a lot of issues I'd like to revisit piece by piece. And if they're allowed to operate the way that they operate, there's no way we can compete with it.
Dolly, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Well, thank you very much for those comments. We appreciate it. Council, let's now move to item 14, my apologies. And
Sure.
Councilor Jameson.
I need to excuse myself. The applicant is a customer of mine for item 14, 15, and 16.
Thank you. Councilor Jameson is going to recuse himself from item 14, 15, and 16. So we'll discuss those three first, and then we'll move on to the other items.
Right.
14?
New 2015 retail wine license, including video lottery terminals for Badlands Gaming LLC. Badlands Gaming LLC to be operated at 1600 West Russell Street. CUP not required. Pending final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services. 15 is a new 2015-16 retail malt beverage license, including video lottery terminals for Badlands Gaming LLC. Badlands Gaming LLC to be operated at 1600 West Russell Street. CUP not required. Pending final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services. 16 is new 2015 packaged liquor license for Badlands Gaming LLC. Badlands Gaming LLC to be operated at 1600 West Russell Street. CUP not required. Pending final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services.
Jamie.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. I don't have any additional information for you, but I'd be happy to answer any questions on these 3 items.
Thank you, Jamie. Councilors?
Move to approve, Karski.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Karski's made a motion to approve items 14, 15, 16, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Rolfing. Yes. Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
That has passed 7-0. Item 17.
New 2015 packaged liquor license for SRO Restaurants LLC, Grill 26, to be operated at 1716 Southwestern Avenue. CUP not required.
This item is requested by the applicant to be withdrawn, so if we could make a motion for that to be withdrawn.
Move to withdraw.
Second.
Councilor Erickson has made a motion to withdraw this item, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson. Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 18.
New 2015 retail wine license for Pure Bliss LLC, a Perfect 10 nail and beauty bar to be operated at 712 South Highline Place. CUP not required. Pending final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services. 19 is a new 2015-16 retail malt beverage license for Pure Bliss LLC, a Perfect 10 nail and beauty bar to be operated at 712 South Highline Place. CUP not required. Pending final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services. And 20, special one-day liquor licenses for Hy-Vee Inc., all occasions by Hy-Vee, to be operated at The Point is to Serve Church, 506 North Kiwanis Avenue, for weddings on August 8 and 15, 2015.
Jamie.
Good evening. 18 and 19 are for a second location for the Perfect 10 Nail and Beauty Bar, and item 20 is a special one-day request for some weddings.
Thank you. Councilors?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Anderson made a motion to approve 18, 19, and 20, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson. Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach. Yes. Jameson.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 21.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Section 124012, providing for Sioux area Metro Transit fares.
Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services. About a year ago, if you recall, we had a discussion about modifying our transit fares, which haven't been modified or changed since about 1996. And that was a result of the Transit Task Force that was led by City Council. At that time, the discussion or the direction was that let's wait a year and kind of look at what happens. And so that year has now passed, and we're back with basically the same proposal that we had discussed with you last year. And since tonight, all that we're asking for you to is to set the date of hearing, I would just say to the council, if there's specific questions or background information that we can provide to you over the next 2 weeks, let us know. And then we are also going to be putting together more information, not only from Sioux Area Metro, but also from City Finance as far as talking about what impacts this would have on future budgets. But again, the recommendation that you're looking at to be considered for second reading is similar to what we had been talking about a year from last year.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Councilors, any thoughts? Yes, Councilor Staggers.
Yes. Mike, I just want to clarify that I have that straight in my mind. And that is, like, for example, if you're here at the town hall, you go down to the, you go down to the bus station, you get on the bus and you want to go somewhere in the community and you have to transfer, then you have to pay again. Is correct or not?
Yes.
Okay. So you might have $1.50, but then you have to transfer, then it becomes $3. Has there been any thought about just, eliminating
Eliminating the transfer? Yep.
transfer, right?
I don't believe that we talked about that at the task force, but it's certainly not part of this recommendation at this time.
Okay.
Counselor, thank you. Counselor Jameson?
Thank you. I think, just a quick follow-up, I think the transfer had something to do with you could then sell your tickets and not follow through with your route. I think there was some problem with that. The other note I just wanted to mention to the council was last year when we brought these changes forward, I think there was also a consideration that we were going to allow the public to absorb this thought of raising the rates, give them some time to adjust to it. We didn't want to spring it on them at the last kind of minute, and we felt like a little more time was needed. But as you know, I think as you heard from Mike, the task force did recommend these approvals or rate increases. The PTAB board recommended as well. And just wanted to kind of reflect a little bit back on why we deferred it last year. And I think it was just to let it sink in. So, thank you.
Counselor, thank you. Yes, Counselor Erickson.
Just something jumped off the paper. 10-year pass. How many do we sell of those a year?
Why would they put that in there?
That is really put in place when developers come and want to get options for required parking, that they can buy bus passes. So we don't do a lot of these, but each year we have to put a dollar amount towards that as an incentive for if you want to buy bus passes for employees or for whatever, then you can reduce your required parking.
All right. I thought 10 years. I don't know who would do that, but I'll go ahead and make a motion to set the hearing date.
Counselor Erickson, thank you, for Tuesday, August 4th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it.
Is there a second?
Second, Karski.
Counselor Karski's seconded that. Any further discussion? Counselor Urbanbach?
Question, because Councilor Staggers started to talk about the transfers, and I think it's important to realize that the transfers, the way that I understand it, transfers were free previously, and that when we added that, the requirement that you pay for a transfer, it essentially doubled the bus rates, because you almost can't get anywhere without making a transfer. Mm-hmm. So I think we have to acknowledge, number one, that we keep saying. Wow, it's a word from God. We keep saying we haven't raised bus rates in all these years, but we in effect doubled them several years ago when we did the transfer addition. So I want us to be careful about those numbers. I certainly want to have the conversation. I think that we need to make sure that our rates are in line, but let's not kid ourselves that we haven't raised the rates for a while. And then if I might, I have a point of order question about whether, and because Councilor Rolfing and I were just quietly disagreeing on this. We don't usually amend in first reading, correct? We are only setting a date of hearing. Mr. Fifley, if you might help me with that.
Can you have an amendment at first reading?
You've never done an amendment at a first reading. It's always been a second.
That wasn't my question. You answered that.
I don't believe you can, Counselor, either.
Okay, that's a better answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Yes, Counselor Karski.
What's the difference between a one-day pass and having a transfer pass? I mean, is there a difference? How is that managed? How does that program work? I mean, because the purpose of a transfer pass is to get from one bus to the next. Isn't a one-day pass doing the same thing?
Yes, and again, I think those kind of questions that we would like to put together in more detail for you, so I'm not trying to dodge it tonight, but yes.
It will come up
those are the good discussion items that we need to have, yep.
Thank you.
Counselor, thank you. There's been a motion to set that hearing date for August 4th. Good discussion. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item number 22.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, establishing the tax increment revenues to be collected and authorizing the payment of tax increment revenues to the developer in accordance with the development agreement for tax incremental District Number 19, City of Sioux Falls.
Good evening, Darren Smith, Director of Community Development. The item tonight is for a project being called 3rd Avenue Lofts currently. It is associated with a proposed TIF district, which would become TIF District 19 in Sioux Falls if it's approved. Item 22, more specifically, is for the development agreement only. It's a first reading, set a date of hearing for, I believe, August 4th. At that time, you would also be asked to not only vote on this at a second reading, but the associated documents, the TIF plan itself, and those TIF boundaries. As you know, I was here earlier this afternoon to give a more comprehensive presentation, go into more detail, so I won't do that again. But again, also understand that there are folks who are here tonight or watching at home who are not here for the afternoon. So I do want to just very briefly touch on a couple of the slides that I think are important and hit the highlights. Again, I want to start with the TIF history in Sioux Falls. We mentioned this earlier today, but it's worth stressing, I think, that the first 20 years that TIF districts were allowed per state law in the City of Sioux Falls, the city approved 9 TIF districts. We've approved 9 in the last 5 years. The average time in between TIF districts previously was about every 27 months. Over the last 5 years, we've averaged approving a TIF district about every 6 months. So it's fair to say we've been aggressive, but responsibly so. 7 of the 9 TIF districts that we've approved over the last 5 years have been right in downtown or in a core area adjacent to downtown or near downtown. Again, 3rd Avenue Lofts, if approved, would be the 10th TIF district we've approved in the last 5 years. We have 1 additional active application that will be coming to the City Council very soon, and I would say 1 to 2 more that I feel are likely to come to the City Council in the next few months. Jumping into the project a little bit more specifically, again, the yellow outline here, the yellow boundaries are the proposed TIF boundaries. The black boxes you see are for projects that are proposed to take place in the TIF district. Project 1 would be the recipient of all of the increment generated by this TIF district to support it and make it financially feasible. It would be approximately 82 units. At least 70% of which would be affordable housing, targeting young professionals in particular, but people of all ages would be eligible. And more specifically, it would target those at the 60% area median income level and below, which is pretty significant because many affordable housing projects historically allow for up to 80%, and most of the tenants are just that. This would be a $12 million project, and a TIF application was filed with our office. Project 2, which would not receive any increment from the TIF district to make financially feasible, but is needed to support Project 1 and make it feasible, as we talked about today, would, in the next few years, this future project would likely also be residential, multifamily. It would be market rate, not affordable, and right now it's projected at about a $6 million cost for that project. Earlier in the afternoon, a couple of you asked about boundaries that go beyond just the project site. So in the time I had in between meetings, I did go back and look. I only have immediate access to those TIF districts that are still active. I got to go into the paper files to go to TIF districts the city's approved in the past that are no longer active. What I said earlier was boundaries that go beyond an individual project site are certainly not unprecedented, but they are uncommon. I think that's still largely true, but I also found that they are more common than I had recalled. Again, just over the last 5 years, and those I'm most familiar with, TIF 11 included 19 individual properties that were owned by different individuals and were acquired by the development project for that effort. So that was 19 individual parcels in that district. TIF 12 I indicated earlier, and that is accurate, but I didn't realize the scope of that. That actually took in 4 blocks of properties, 14 properties total, and that's for the Uptown Exchange apartments or lofts in the Uptown area. It goes from just north of 4th Street all the way down to 8th Street on the south and from Main to Phillips. So it took in a fairly considerable area. And finally, TIF 14, which we used to tear down the river ramp and build the Hilton Garden Inn and everything associated with that project, also included the DeWitt building in that TIF district. Okay, final slide here. Again, a summary of the TIF itself. The request, the application was for $1.6 million in TIF funds, along with $350,000 from our affordable housing program, the large projects competitive program. Our recommendation is for up to $1.5 million in TIF. We think it's more likely to be $1.2 million, and then we will recommend approval for a $350,000 loan from that competitive program that we have. And again, that will be a loan, and we need to negotiate the terms yet on that. And it'll come forward for your approval as well.
Darren, thank you. Appreciate that. Councilors, this is a first reading. Any thoughts, anything like that?
Move to approve, Karski.
Second, Erpenbach.
Thank you. Councilors Karski and Councilors Erpenbach would like to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 4th for this item. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Rolfing, Staggers,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 23.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property north of West 26th Street and east of South St. Michael's Circle from the O Office District to the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District, petition number 2859-2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Jason Bieber with the Planning and Building Services. The applicant here is Paul Reynolds. The owner is the St. Michael's Parish. It is located north of West 26th Street and east of South Michael's Circle. It's roughly 2.3 acres, and you can see just the east half of this vacant parcel is what's going to be included in the rezoning. And the purpose of this rezoning is to construct a tires store on that east half of the property.
Jason, thank you. Councilors?
I would set, or move to set date of hearing for Tuesday, August 14th at 7 p.m.
August 4th, sir?
Yes.
August 4th.
Is that what I said?
Yes, sir. And is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Jameson, thank you. Councilor Jameson, question?
Yes, if I could, there's a gravel road that comes off of that cul-de-sac, I think it is, that's there just for, I thought it was going to get paved, but what is the future of that then if this?
If you look at the north side of this site plan, you can see that access easement that is requested by engineering, and that will be a way for the buses to go from the school down to the existing light at Homefield. So they will maintain that. I'm not sure if it'll be paved. That's information I could get for you for the second reading, but they are proposing to maintain that access for the school and the buses to get to that lighted intersection.
And then as well to the east, there would obviously be a road there, or how would?
Yep, they'd go to that east. Homefield, I believe, goes north end, so there'd be a road from St. Michael's Circle east and then down south to Homefield. Yep.
You're right, thank you.
Councilor Rolfing.
Jason, what's the plan for the east, the lot 3A? Is that going to be commercial? They want to make that commercial eventually too?
What I've heard on that is that will stay office, and I believe maybe a bank will be going there, is last I heard on it. But
Councilors, thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Anderson, Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 24.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property east of South Louise Avenue and north of West 77th Street from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District, petition number 2875-2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
the applicant here is Premier Builders. The owner is the Van Buskirk's company. It is located south of West 77th Street and east of South Louise Avenue, and just south of the future Vera McKinnon campus. They are proposing to construct one townhome on each of 6 lots for a total of 12 twin home units.
Thank you, Jason. Councilors, would anybody want to set a date of hearing, second reading for Tuesday, August 4th?
So moved. Erpenbach.
Second, Kylie.
Councilor Buck, thank you. Councilor Kiley, thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson. Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 25.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 5200 West Lakeshore Boulevard from the C3 Commercial Community District to the S1 General Institutional District. Petition number 2888, 2015, amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant here is Larry Crane. The owner is Avera McKinnon. Is located south of West 26th Street and east of South Marion Road. It is roughly 4.48 acres, and the purpose of this rezoning is to construct roughly a 3-story medical clinic for Avera McKinnon.
Thank you, Jason. Yes, Councilor Karski.
Just curious, Jason, have they put a timeline on this, when they expect it to be done?
I haven't heard a timeline, but I believe pretty soon, or I believe they're moving on trying to get dirt moved this year or so.
Move to approve, move to set the date.
Thank you, Councilor.
Second, Erpenbach.
Thank you, Councilor Bach. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 26.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 9100 West 26th Street from the AG Agriculture District to the RA2 Apartment Residential Moderate Density District. Petition number 2889, 2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant here is Ryan Reitz. The owner is Mary Jo Person. Is located at the northwest corner of West 26th Street and South Katy Avenue. It's roughly 6.6 acres. And the purpose of this is to construct 5 3-story, 26-unit apartment complexes with parking lot and garages. This will be phase 2 of the Sunset Villas that was approved, and I believe they've started construction and are getting ready to rent them out on the east side of Katy Avenue.
Thank you, Jason.
Move to set the date of hearing.
Councilor Buck, thank you.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Karski, thank you as well. Yes, sir, Councilor Karski.
Just want to point out that these last 3 zoning changes have all been in the Northwest District. We got a lot happening out there.
Duly noted there, Councilor. Thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 27.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property east of Southeastern Avenue and south of East Chatham Street from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban and RD2 Townhome Residential Suburban Districts. Petition number 2894, 2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant here is Brady Hyde. The owner is Whispering Woods South LLC. Is located east of Southeastern Avenue and north of East 69th Street, just west of the new Harrisburg School. The size is roughly 11.4 acres, and the purpose of this is to construct some twin homes south of future Chatham Street, and then south of that, the applicant would like to construct between 4 and 8 unit townhomes.
Thank you, Jason.
Move to set the date of hearing.
Thank,
Second.
thank you, councilors. Appreciate that. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Karski.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson. Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 28.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property south of East Benson Road and east of I-229 from the AG Agriculture and CN Conservation Districts to the I-2 Heavy Industrial and CN Conservation Districts. Petition number 2895, 2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant and owner here is Tom Sweetman. Is located south of East Benson Road and east of I-229. It is roughly 112 acres, and the purpose of this rezoning is to get it ready for a heavy industrial user that's going to go in the purple portion of this rezoning exhibit.
Thank you, Jason.
Move to set the second reading for August 4th, 2015 at 7 p.m.
Second, Rolfing.
Thank you. Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to set that date of hearing, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson. Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 29.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 4, 2015 at 7 p.m. for item 29. First reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 800 and 900 East I-90 Lane from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the O Office District, petition number 2929, 2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The owner of this property is Special Olympics. This is their main headquarters. It is located north of I-90 and west of North Cliff Avenue. This is a city-initiated rezoning. The purpose of this is the existing lot does contain the existing office of the Special Olympics. And then the vacant lot just to the west, they are proposing to do some indoor recreation facility, a little gymnasium. Those particular uses aren't allowed in the single-family residential district, so therefore we are modifying the map to zone it office to allow the existing and proposed indoor rec facility.
Councilor Staggers.
Yes, you said this was city-initiated. Are they willing to go along with this without any hesitation, or?
Nope, these are requests with working with the owners when they come in. We do quite a bit of digging through the records and work with them on getting a zoning that actually their property should have been zoned. So yes, they are aware and they are for this particular rezoning.
Okay. So once again, the property owner is in favor?
Yep, it's their request, yep, for us.
Councilor Staggers, thank you.
Move to set the second reading for Tuesday, August 4th, 2015, 7 p.m.
Second.
Thank you both, councilors. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson. Erickson.
Yep.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 30.
First reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 3521 South Norton Avenue from the C3 Commercial Community District to the I1 Light Industrial District, petition number 2930, 2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Excuse me. The owner of this property is Tri-State Garage Door Company. It is located there on Norton Avenue. It is east of the new Costco and Dunham apartment complexes. The current parcel is being utilized for the Tri-State Garage Door warehouse and their kind of shop area. And so that use is currently not allowed in a commercial zoning district. So therefore, we're going to modify the map to zone it light industrial to allow the existing warehouse and contractor shop.
Jason, thank you.
Move to
Yes,
approve.
Councilor Staggers. Sorry,
Yes.
Councilor Erickson.
Just a same kind of question. The property owner is in favor of this rezone?
Yep, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Councilor Erickson.
Move to set the date.
Thank you.
Second, Anderson.
Thank you, Councilor Anderson Jr. Yes, Councilor Rolfing.
Sorry, Jason, is this one of those shaped places that we're just finding out about? Or seems to me that should have been redone with the original shaped places kind of thing?
A lot of these that we run into are actually records aren't updated correctly at the county or through our end of it. So a lot of these, we have uses that aren't currently up to date. So when property owners come in this situation, this gentleman came in about inquiring about possibly doing an addition down the line. When we get into that kind of a situation, then we can spend the time to go through several different programs that we have to find all the records, all the building permits to make a determination that, yes, this should be light industrial. So it's really about updating the records, and sometimes they just
So
weren't
it's the
updated.
county's fault, is what you're telling us?
Well, no.
It's the city's fault.
That's right, that's true.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And I'm embarrassed. Do we have a motion on this?
We have a motion.
Thank you. Thank you, councilors, for doing that. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson. Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 31.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at the southeast corner of West 57th Street and South Marion Road from the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District to the C3 Commercial Community District, petition number 2931, 2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The owner of this is Jim Bruns. This is located at the southeast corner of 57th and South Marion Road, an existing strip center that contains several retail businesses. The current parcel is Zone C2, which does allow retail, multi-tenant retail. However, it allows a maximum size of 25,000 square feet. The existing building is bigger than that. It's roughly 32,000 square feet. Therefore, the modification from the C2 zoning district to the C3 zoning district, and the owner is aware of the rezoning.
Jason, thank you. Councilor Staggers?
I was just wondering, they don't have to pay any extra fees or anything to get this rezoned, is that right? The private property owner?
Correct. These are our city-initiated rezoning, so we handle publications, we handle posting all the signs. So.
Thank you.
Councilor Staggers, thank you. Yes, Councilor Karski?
When we rezone from 2 to a 3, like you said, we're going from a 25,000 to a maximum of 75,000 square feet. And I'm sure there's no plans to tear this down and rebuild, but what's the harm in just leaving it a C2 and leaving it at 32,000 square feet so it can't be changed?
A lot of those, the reason to do this is essentially the building's non-conforming. They come in to do really any modifications to the outside. They have to go to Planning Commission for a conditional use. If something would happen to the building, it would burn down. With more than a certain amount of damage, they wouldn't be allowed to build it back. Banks don't like non-conforming uses, so there's quite a few reasons to get it zoned correctly for the existing use.
You learn something every day. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate that. Yes, Councilor Erickson?
Just because you kind of said what happens if it were to burn down, they couldn't rebuild. What happened if it burned down and the city had it zoned wrong because of maybe a mistake that Shape Places did or the county did? Is there a liability? Or is it just a matter of, hey, we'll have to rezone it once you rebuild? I mean, the chance of it burning is probably...
Yeah, usually it's just a rezoning, and a use like this, I mean, it's still retail to retail. It's not quite a big deal. A lot of things that we deal with is if single-family houses are zoned commercial, that's when banks don't like that, and if they get burned down, then, you know, they can't really build back, but...
One little follow-up. I remember doing a handful of these last year as well. How many more do we have? I mean, is it just kind of when they ask?
Well,
are we looking out to fix it?
We notice some of them as you're looking through things. I mean, you may, you know, as we look at a GIS map every day, most day long, we may see something that's a little out of whack. Like I said, most of them are requests from the property owners when they come in to do some research on them about doing additions or doing some building permits that we really get the time. I mean, sometimes these take hours to go through the specific records and find building permits back from the 1960s to see when it was established as a use and try and follow the paper trail. So that's really a lot of them. And then as we make that determination that, yeah, there's a paper trail to indicate, you know, the rezoning, then we, you know, tell them, hey, we'll put you on the list. You can wait for us to do them as we do them, you know, about twice a year or so. Or you can definitely go forward by yourself with a recommendation of approval from us, kind of a deal.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Karski?
As a follow-up, I imagine that there's a process. We notify the neighbors that this is being rezoned, the whole...
It's just like a normal process for us. The only difference is I go out there and pound the signs in. That's the only difference.
Okay. So there is
yep.
proper notification given.
The neighbors get 300 feet. It's just like a normal. We post it in the paper. We do a notice of hearing. It really is the same process.
Thank you.
I will set a time of, what do we?
August 4th.
August 4th?
Yes.
Even though he said the 1960s was a long time ago.
Yes. Caught that too, Counselor.
Seconder.
It's been seconded as well. Thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Ralphing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 32.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 2900 South Waltz Avenue from the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District to the RT2 Townhome Residential Traditional District, petition number 2932-2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Yeah, the owner here is Tim Sorensen, and this is located kind of southeast of Augustana College, their track there. It is a small parcel, roughly 0.4 acres. There is an existing home on this parcel that has been converted over the last 10 or 15 years from, I believe, a twin home to fourplex. These converted houses under the Shape Places ordinance require what's called an RT2 district. That's a residential or a townhome traditional district that allows these converted houses. So we are modifying the map from a RD1, which allows just a duplex, to the existing use of the property, which is a 4-unit converted house.
Yes, Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Why wasn't this done before he started to do all this work converting the house?
This particular one is a similar case. We had to run through all the records. Sometimes, like I said, he had previous conditional use. Sometimes our permits, when we did written permits, like I said, they didn't get updated in the system to change the land use. We didn't get them sent to the county for them to actually change the land use on it. He has the permits for the conversion. It just was never updated in our records.
That's what we want.
Move to set the second reading for Tuesday, August 4th, 7 p.m.
Second.
Councilors, thanks for doing that. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 33.
First reading an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 5311 North 6th Avenue from the REC Recreation District to the I-1 Light Industrial District, petition number 2933-2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The owner here is also Jim Bruns, and you can see this is north of I-90. This is the existing Catfish Bay facility. The purpose of this one is its existing zoning of REC recreation is actually a pretty good definition for what this use is. However, the REC district is really for public recreation facilities such as golf courses, public parks. It doesn't allow a specific private recreation facility, which Catfish Bay is privately run and owned. So therefore, we are rezoning or modifying the map to the I-1 zoning district to allow them to continue to use it as a private rec facility. And there's also adjacent I-1 to the east and south, so that was kind of the most appropriate district for this particular area.
Jason, thank you. Councilors, anybody want to set a date of hearing, second reading for August 4th for item 33?
I'll move Anderson.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made that motion, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. A roll call vote. Oh, yes, Councilor Kiley.
Before we vote on this issue, I would just like to thank Jason for offering up very clear and concise answers to our questions, which obviously he does not have the opportunity to prepare for those. So I think that's just an example of how competent Jason is at doing his job.
Councilor Kiley,
I, for
thank you.
one, appreciate that.
Very
Thank you
good.
very much.
I concur.
Big blush.
Got bench strength in the planning and zoning team.
Did we just give him a raise?
Love it. Yes, well, duly noted.
I'm gonna hold you
Tracy,
to that.
let Mike know.
Heard it. It's on the record.
It's on the record.
It's on the
Right,
record.
that's right.
Great job, thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 34.
A resolution establishing the City of Sioux Falls provisional legislative priorities for the 2016 state legislative session.
Good evening. Jim David, Legislative Operations Manager for the City Council. For your consideration tonight are 8 provisional legislative priorities intended to guide the South Dakota Municipal League as they develop their own platform for the 2016 legislative session. The first item is a general defensive statement that expresses support for local control and local government's ability to react to their citizens' needs and to their wants. Number 2 supports alternative legal publication options for local government. A proposal that would have accomplished this was defeated earlier this year in committee. And number 3 is also defensive language intended to protect municipal government's limited revenue sources including such things as property taxes, sales tax, and liquor tax. Number 4 is a general statement of support for a statewide initiative to expand affordable or workforce housing. Number 5 proposes a local drink or local option drink tax, sometimes referred to as a nickel a drink or a dime a drink. These proceeds would fund county government. Number 6 supports cooperative activities between county and municipal government. Basically, if a county or city is unable to do something on their own, they are unable to partner or enter into a partnership with another government unit. Number 6 also provides an opportunity to discuss the successes of county and city partnerships such as 911 service, law enforcement center, museums, libraries, homeless advisory boards, and many others. Number 7 supports local control and flexibility at the county level. Under this item, counties would have the ability to move revenue from one area that is well-funded to an area that has a budget gap in another area. And then finally, number 8 was requested by Finance, and this is requesting an additional 15 days or 45 total days for complicated bids. An example being that was provided was wastewater pumps that are fairly technical in nature, have to be custom built. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Jim, thank you. Appreciate that. Councilors? Yes, Councilor Staggers?
I guess one concern I have here is that, Jim, is there anything in there that's really good for the citizens? What we have here is basically, for the city government and also for the county government, focusing on doing things that are going to be beneficial for them. But for the citizens...
As councilors, as representatives of the people, I'll leave that in your hands to answer that question. I, as staff, will take a step back.
There isn't any.
Councilor Muck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just respond by saying that both, agreeing wholeheartedly with Jim, that both the city and the county government work on behalf of the citizens. And I think that this particular list of legislative priorities really shows a willingness for us to be partners with the county, with Minnehaha County and with Lincoln County. And I think that we should be supportive of these ideas, that we should be supportive of those folks that are, again, caring for many of the same citizens that we are, and that we would pass this unanimously.
Councilor, thank you.
I would move approval.
Thank you, Councilor Buck.
Second, Kylie.
Councilor Anderson Jr. made that motion. I did not ask, is there anybody in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Welcome.
Greg Neitzer, Sioux Falls. Since you brought it up, I was thinking the same thing last year as I was thinking this year as I read this, which was, what you're talking about, what does it do for the citizens and working with the county. And I was struck, I see you added a number 7, which actually throws a little bit of a carrot out to the county, but I was really struck the last 2 years reading number 1 and number 3. So essentially what I'm reading in number 1 is that we would like unfettered ability to raise the taxes for our citizens, which I particularly would oppose, and I don't particularly think that benefits me. And then at the same time, you're saying in number 3 that the counties should have their hands tied. They should have absolutely no ability to look for any other revenue stream. It seems rather mercenary. And especially considering that we are flush with revenue and the county is having problems with basic services. So I guess from a citizen standpoint, I'm not terribly excited about these priorities, and I wasn't last year either. So just my thoughts.
Thanks so much, Greg. Anybody else want to speak on this item in the audience? A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
That has passed 7-1. Thank you. Councilors, any new business tonight?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
There's been a motion to adjourn, has been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? This meeting has adjourned. Good night, Sioux Falls. Make it a great night.